Hey there, everyone. Welcome to TRG 30. It's Stephen here. Lovely to be with you again. Thank you to everyone that's joining us today. Thanks to Caitlin, my lovely colleague who's here with us too. So pleased to be with you on Wednesday, the 15th of September. Where is September going? Where is September going? We are here again this week, talking again about bold change for resilience. You know TRG 30 by now for sure. But some of the questions last week that we had got Caitlin and I thinking, particularly around questions of capacity. I think, in fact, Caitlin, it was our friend Ben who said something like, when do you get to say no in all of this? This is all very well, TRG, making these provocations. So we have perhaps a bold change today that you can make that will help keep you resilient. And that's about your work groove. Today, we're going to talk about what you can do to be the best, energized, most passionate version of you. And when we're talking about work here, what do we mean? We're talking specifically about the tasks that you're responsible for and ensuring that they're all clearly aligned with your departmental and organizational collective goals. Today, Caitlin and I are going to zoom out and give you space to process to see how you're spending your time and set you up with a tool, a framework, as it were, to consider some next steps. We'll walk you through something that you can use personally, but also that you're welcome to share with your colleagues for a full team exercise. But our goal today really is to inspire you to take some action that will positively impact your relationship with work and how you might be feeling right now. And, we chose this picture for perhaps how we feel, although I do wish I was on a roller coaster right now, however much work feels like one, right? We're all in hustle time. Your venues are open or about to open again. You might be back in the office or planning a return. Sales are kicking into a higher gear than they've been in more than a year and a half. We see that really clearly on the benchmark with volatile sales actually each week. Donations are still as critical as ever. And we're transitioning perhaps again to a different type of working again, perhaps a hybrid model in or out of the office. Maybe we're getting back into that office. We're working with new faces or still reduced teams. There's a lot of recruitment going on right now in the sector. You might find this hustle completely invigorating or completely exhausting, or a little bit of both. And speaking personally, that feeling can even change day to day. So let's take a temperature check of how we're all doing today. We're going to pop a poll on the screen to talk about your energy. Your energy. Let's bring that up now.
We are. Stephen, if you could bring that poll up, because
I will. I'm on it. Here we go. Energy levels. What's your energy like today? How are you joining us? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is you're struggling to find any motivation at all, and 10 is the most excited that you've ever been professionally. Let's see, and you're all quick off the bat here, ready to answer this question immediately. Let's see a few more of you still to pop in there. There's a real mix. It's a proper bell curve, actually. Let's share the results so you can see where you're meeting us today. Wow, a real mixed bag. Most of you are somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Caitlin, where are you on this scale today?
Well, I'm in a middle, but I'm in a higher middle. So I think I'd put myself at maybe a 7. Work feels really great right now. Trying to understand work and home as things change really rapidly with kids going back to school is stunting that. So I don't think I can be quite at a 10 because of how all these things are still working against each other, working with each other, trying to find some way of working together.
Yeah, I feel a bit lower than that. Like, it's the end of Wednesday here today, and every week is just barreling along, right? And so my energy's a little bit lower. I'd put myself perhaps 4 or 5 today. So we've got a mixed bag here. The one person that's 10, I've never been more excited about work. We need to harness some of that energy. And those of you that are further down the scale, I hope, regardless actually of where you are on here, we have some little tips and tactics to help improve that a little bit. I think what we want to do is take a step back today and consider the work that you're doing, how much time it's taking, how it's supporting your organizational goals and missions. And we see this before the pandemic and in the pandemic too, actually. If you don't, you might find you're dedicating time to projects or tasks that maybe don't matter, or are wildly inefficient or far too manual. And when that happens, we can quickly lose focus. We're not in our groove, energy, we're not motivated. And this impacts results. We've seen it. It can impact your bottom line and the relationships that you have with your audiences and the relationships that you have with your colleagues. So your time is precious. In fact, it's your most precious resource, we'd argue, and your organization's most precious resource. I think even as you look at these scores, think about how your team, your colleagues might answer this question. Where are they on this scale? We're going to try and help. We're going to give you time today to reflect and plan in ways that might move you from a 5 to a 7, a 1 to a 2, a 3 to a 6. Hang with us. For those that regularly attend, this is a little bit different today, intentionally so. But I think, Caitlin, we're 100% confident that every single one of you can take some productive action from this work that we're going to step through today over the next 15 minutes. So listen a little, but this is facilitated you time for you. Keep chat open, add your comments and narrative to the discussion today, reach out to your colleagues, and remember to ensure your comment goes to everyone and not just the panelists. And there's time, as always, for a Q&A reflection. Be sure to submit those too. Okay, let's get moving. I bet you say this word a lot at work. I feel like I say yes all day. Yeah, I can do that, sure. I can make that happen. Maybe even through gritted teeth, absolutely. I'll do that as soon as I can. We see it all the time. We live in it all the time. And the fact is, in our sector, we attract highly competent, wildly capable, deeply passionate people who want to see our organization's mission and purposes realized. That's good most of the time. But saying yes all the time leads to work, as I've said, that doesn't matter, projects that aren't aligned with those goals. And perhaps most importantly right now, burnout, which can really impact your motivation and how you feel and how you're showing up.
Stephen, it can also just lead to too much. There can be too much of a good thing. You might find that everything you do is absolutely mission critical, that it is advancing your organization's purpose and serving the people you seek to serve well, but at the cost of your own energy, sanity, ability to keep up with the churn. So it's not always that we do things that are lousy or a complete waste of time. We do those things. We all do those things. I do those things. But sometimes it's that, don't cry, Lacey. But sometimes it's that we do too much good and we don't actually have the capacity to do it. So I would just say it works on both ends of the spectrum of how we're spending that time and what we're doing. Okay, keep going.
No, well, okay, Caitlin. So, we just say no. Is that the solution? Is that the solution? That's not necessarily the answer, right? That's not what even perhaps what we want to help you give permission to say no. So, if you know TRG, we want to frame some data around this because data, there's emotion right in the room right now, which I super appreciate and feel on your behalf. But some data can help take the sting out of that a bit. Help us have and facilitate the conversations we need to have with our teams, with our leaders. So let's get to the tool, the framework. Caitlin's going to put a link to it in chat. You're just going to click it and it's going to download into your downloads folder so that you can open it up on your screen. And you can save the link if you want to just go through, or you can work along this with us alongside us. This is going to help us bring, as I said, data and context into the conversation and the reality of our situations, wherever we score on 1 to 10. By the end of this time today, you'll have a path forward to managing productive conversations and have this data to support it. So we want to give you the power of that conversation into your hands. So I'm going to give you a moment to click that download link. We should have some cool elevator music or something here, Caitlin, just take us through this transition time and have that worksheet open up. And you should see something when you open your file that looks a little bit like this. Caitlin, take us through this.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Stephen. Okay, I hope everyone has that open. If not, we will send this to you in a link after today's session. And of course, you can watch back here to see how we'll go through it. Stephen, if you would, let's just stop sharing, because really this is a conversation today.
Yeah.
We want, so you can minimize us, pull this worksheet up. This is really time for you. We started this conversation with you today about energy. And you're looking at this now and you're saying, wait, my energy isn't reflected anywhere on this. What's the link between how I'm feeling and how I'm working? And we would say it's actually inextricably linked. In fact, your energy and how you're feeling about work right now will absolutely impact the time that you spend in the tasks that you have. So it's not here. This isn't asking you to put an energy level next to each of your tasks or evaluate it in that way. But now that you've got that lens for how we're thinking about this, I think it'll help you be quite critical and reflective of this time as we go through it. Okay, so we're doing this in real life together. So you've got your worksheets pulled up. You've already read ahead, I'm certain of it. We're going to focus on the top section of this in that picture that Stephen just showed. So the first place to start is to write down some key activities, ways that you're spending your time right now. And you define what that is. That could be over the last week, over the last month, during this transition from closed and pandemic to reopening, whatever makes the most sense for you to get your head around. Pick a time frame and then start writing down key activities. These are tasks. These are not values. This is ways you're actually spending your time. So this might include something like meetings. Now, if you have a lot of meetings, you might want to find some nuance to that. Internal meetings versus vendor meetings. I don't know how you're spending your time, you do. So bring enough nuance into this for it to be helpful. If you are part of a marketing team, you might be responsible for advertising, but having a huge bucket like advertising isn't super helpful. So drill in just a little bit more. Is it in graphic design? Is it in chasing your vendors? Is it in analysis? So bring a little bit of nuance into these pieces. We're going to give you, I'm going to stop talking for just a minute, and I'll give you about 60 seconds to fill that out and then do the first column, only the first column. Don't cheat and work ahead. I would absolutely not pay attention to me, and I would work ahead and I'd have this thing done. Don't do that. Just do that first piece where you say how much time goes into this. Put in a percentage. It might come out to more than 100%, fine. It might not equal 100%, that's fine too. Ideally, you want it to be reflective of how much you are actually working, but just go ahead and drop in those percentages. So this is when Stephen sings. You've got a song prepared, I think.
This is interesting. I wonder what we would choose a song from, actually, Caitlin. Maybe requests. I don't know. In fact, I think there's probably attendees, if I look at this list, that definitely would come on and sing a little song. I'm not going to call them out, but you know.
That would be far more fun. In my house, it's the soundtrack from Zombies 2 on repeat, which is my kids' favorite soundtrack right now. It's a Disney musical. There's zombies and werewolves and humans that all peacefully live together. And the songs are hilarious.
I have had the new ABBA songs on repeat in the background while I've been working, and boy, nice. as ABBA come to save me many, many times. ABBA just
ABBA has saved you.
ABBA is it.
Okay.
If you haven't listened to their new songs, I highly recommend them. I'm just saying, you know.
Well, there's your takeaway for today. Everyone
there it is.
To stream some new ABBA. Okay, we're going to keep working through this. Andy told us to stop talking. Okay, 30 more seconds. We're going to stop talking, Andy. Thank you. Okay, what surprises you about where you're spending some of your time? What's a big percentage that you, when you thought about it, you were really surprised by what's there? Or were you surprised? Drop something into chat. If you have surprises, yeah, Sarah, managing staff. Man, managing people takes real time. And this environment has required even more from managers to be able to do that well. Administrative tasks. Oh, Katie, totally. How do you step back from the day-to-day minutia and get into that organizational visioning? Absolutely.
Meetings.
And meetings that should be emails.
Emails. There are so many more emails from colleagues when we're not together, right? Like trying to even, and I don't know if anybody's like inbox zero, but it's not possible now, right?
Right.
So much admin.
So many emails. Wow, folks, this email thing is huge.
So yeah, 150%.
Relationships. Oh, Jim, that feels great. Okay. This is awesome. I mean, some of this isn't awesome, but it's great that you're seeing with real clarity there, where there's surprise and where you're doing pieces. Oh, Elizabeth, 130%. Yeah. Yeah, Camilla, how do we work on right now versus next year? What's coming? Absolutely. Okay, let's go to those next 3 columns. Each of these you get to answer a yes or no to, and that's it. There's no maybes, there's yes or no. So we've made this binary for you. Are each of those tasks revenue generating? Are they directly making money for your organization? Ticket sales, donations, grant writing? Are they actually bringing revenue in? The second is it mission critical? Now, we suspect that somewhere in your missions, there's something that says serving your community, serving your audiences, being with people. So that mission critical piece might also be relationship critical work. So you can think about it that way as well. And then we have other. Is it not really either of those 2 things? Is there another bucket that should live in? You don't have to name the bucket, just say, no, it's not really either of those. It's another bucket. We'll give you a quiet minute to fill those out. Okay. I'm guessing that was a pretty easy alignment based on what you've just shared here. So we're going to go straight into step 3. No, I think I'm not. I think I'm going to pause. Let's talk about step 2 for just a minute. Stephen, there are things that we often see here in step 2 that are both mission critical and revenue generating. And so that feels really easy to say, okay, this is a critical task. This is something that absolutely needs to happen. But then we have this other bucket. So I'm wondering, what do you see in other buckets, or when you see clients filling this out, where do you start poking at other? What do you find?
Well, I think what's really interesting about this part is how close to the generating revenue the task needs to be, right? And I think it has to be literally one step from it. You know, if I'm physically on the phone talking to a patron or processing a booking, for example, if I'm on the box office. So, you know, I think of an example here where there is a lot of, in fact, someone's mentioned, you know, cleaning lists. A box office manager who was processing reports manually. And that took, you know, a quarter of the week's time there. And that we had to bucket that under other, because actually it was not necessarily directly generating revenue or linked to the mission. So that's one type of a thing. And I also think when there's a breakdown of meetings, when you look at the function and purpose of that meeting, does it come under one of those 2 buckets? I've certainly seen some slip into other there. So I think particularly with meetings, and that's come up a lot today, I would encourage us to as you said, to break that out and pull that out a little bit further. Yeah,
great. Okay, so you all have some things that you see there. Let's go into step 3. So those are all of those blue columns. And the blue columns are giving you a moment to say, okay, well, how should I spend my time on this? Do I need to make a change or not in how much time is going to this particular task? So you can see that you can increase it, decrease it, stop it entirely, or leave it as it is now, maintain what your current commitment is. Now, depending on how many tasks you've written here, the 2 places that I would encourage you to focus is on tasks that you've said are mission critical and generating revenue. What do we need to do with that time? Are you spending enough time on revenue generating, mission driven tasks? If so, make sure you're maintaining it. If not, start to think about how you might increase that. And then the second place I would focus is on anything that ended up in that other bucket. It's not really generating revenue. I'm not sure if it's mission critical. What should happen with this task? Now, right now you're doing this in isolation. So you get to just say, I'm going to stop doing these things. I'm going to stop doing that other bucket, but it might not be entirely realistic. That's fine. Do it in this moment. What would it look like if you stopped it? If you paused that work? So go ahead and go through those pieces. We'll give you just a minute. Okay. Do you see easy? No, nothing's easy. This isn't easy. This is work. And this is hard, reconfiguring how you're thinking about your tasks and reallocating time. Do you see clear places where something needs to change? Or does it feel really jumbled? Focus first on clarity. Is there a clear place where you want to change something? Maybe it's about some of these things you've already listed, surprises that you have.
Caitlin, I'm thinking as I look at this, I think about stepping through this with clients, and sometimes actually that other bucket, it's extreme to say it, but does it generate revenue? Is it mission critical, or is it crazy?
Is it crazy? Right.
Because, there needs to be, I would encourage you to find something on this list that you're able to put a check in, stop or pause right now.
Yeah.
And it's hard, especially if there's places where there's an increase or maintain. If you're at 115, 130%, if you're, think about your scores, your energy at the beginning, find something on this list that you can check a stop, pause.
Who has something that they've put stop or pause next to? Would you share it with everyone? Curious to see what you feel like you can just scratch off the list permanently or for the moment.
Yeah. I had an example here, Caitlin. This was from a presenter where there's a constant cycle of shows, right? And so producers and promoters are calling constantly the marketing team to ask how are sales doing? And I feel like that intensity is increased right now because of the volatility of sales. And so that was a really important moment. That inbound interruption has to stop. Doesn't necessarily mean we don't have the conversation, but how the conversation happens and how it's structured needs to be different.
How do we change it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's some good feedback coming in here. Asking if I'm really needed in certain meetings, instead of just accepting every meeting invite that comes across your calendar. Do you challenge some of it or affirm that you have a real role to play in that space? Pausing social media. Calls with supervisors outside of regular meetings.
Okay, and someone's got to go first, right? Someone's got to do it and model the action. I admire you.
But we also need some alignment within a team that we're going to give each other permission to do this. Yeah. This is something that's there to help all of us. It's hard. You can't be the only person doing it. Yes, someone has to start it, but this has to be a way of working as a team. Yeah. Okay, folks. So the last piece here, which of course is super critical, is this action. What action can you take? We'll let you do this now. Of course, you can fill it in after the conversation today as well, but make these specific actions. Things like, I need to talk to my manager about getting this off my plate. I need to talk to my team about how we're using meeting times. I need to do research so that I can get out of this super manual work and see if there's a better solution for it. So write down specific actions you can take to start to adjust it. Now, Stephen, you're going to walk us through briefly some follow-ups that we might do. There's more to this work, of course, than what we can do in 20 minutes in a session like this. But take us out from here, and then I'll say just a few more things, Stephen.
Yeah, sure. Let's just take a quick look at some data. I kind of referenced we've done this work with all kinds of organizations. Actually, it's often one of the first things that we do, because capacity even before COVID was tough for us, right? So there's some eye-opening data often how teams and individual staff members are spending their time. In this example I'm sharing here, we were looking exclusively at revenue generating time. And this is for marketing, development, and box office teams across 5 different organizations. And you can see here that most of these teams are spending less than half their time on revenue generating activities, and the other half, I don't know, I don't think it was all in the mission critical bucket for sure. So after looking at this data and going through this process, these teams have found new solutions, greater efficiencies, and actually more satisfaction and motivation as a team. So, I would encourage you to look at this in aggregate across your team. Please do keep these points coming in chat. And I have Sarah's example here at across the company, no meeting Wednesdays. Really, really awesome. Okay, so next steps. But quickly before we do, you mentioned there's other bits on this worksheet. Caitlin, there's more folks can do with this, right?
Yeah, there is. I mean, you can continue to use this as an individual. So finish this for yourself, share it with your colleagues, let them do it individually. But you'll see that the second half of that worksheet is really about aligning departmental, if you're a small organization, that could be organizational goals and the way you work. What is the high impact work that you do? What is the low impact work that you do? You can collectively decide how you define those things, but working through that as a team will also give you permission to pause and to say no and to reallocate how you're spending your time. So there is absolutely more there. The last thing I would say before I give this back to you, Stephen, is that you all have written an incredible amount of fantastic advice and thoughts and shared so much in the chat today. So we'll make sure that we send that chat back to you all so you can see how your colleagues are thinking about this. We'll share all of those comments back at the end of our session.
Yeah. There's certainly some points in here, changing the culture. Will this work, right? Reach out to us, contact us. Caitlin and I can help, or our colleagues can help you step through this process. So, but for now, if you can have time to complete this sheet and sleep on it, reflect back again, affirm the data that you've got in front of you. Consider sharing this with your team and colleagues, as Caitlin said, and let's see if we can collectively take one step, as big or small as you can manage, to change the way you spend your time. Be the first person to do it in your organization. One thing, just one. And if you're an executive or you have a team to manage, be ready to help and provide support to clear the plate to focus on the most critical revenue generating and mission fulfilling work. Give them permission to check that stop or pause box. Stop or pause, right? It doesn't have to be stopped forever. To help folks prioritize where time is spent against impact and necessity right now. And if you're filling this out to start a conversation with your line manager, come with solutions and ideas. And they might need some time to reflect on your work. And I would encourage you to start this with as much open-mindedness as you can do, and empathy, and be prepared to collaborate to find these solutions together. We'll reflect on these questions that you've got and consider how we can incorporate these into future sessions. I hope that's given you some bite-sized steps. If you need our help, you can contact us on our website, live chat. We'll find someone to help you. Caitlin has also got a deeper dive session. If you're from a development or fundraising team that focuses on the critical steps you need to take today for your donation and annual fund campaigns, Caitlin will drop a link in chat to that. And as always, reach out to us if you have any questions. Leave us feedback after today. Tell us what you need more of, what less of, how TRG can help you. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this little pivot, this little bit of time for you. Thanks for sticking with us. And we look forward to hearing from you about the next steps that you've taken. Caitlin, thanks for your time today.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Good luck, everyone. Bye-bye.